Chapter 6 from Dissolve the Problem by Shifting Physical Reality by Richard Dotz. Chapter 6 is called Cutting Off the Mental Power Supply. When you woke up this morning, did you automatically start thinking about the various problems in your life? This was certainly true for me for the last half of my life. In my early days of doing this work, I would immediately start thinking about my various unsolvable problems the moment that I woke up. While still lying in bed, I would get that familiar sick feeling in my gut as I realized that my problems... I lost my spot. Okay, were still with me. From that point on, the rest of the day became a downhill battle with these imaginary problems inside myself. I started thinking about my problems the first thing in the morning because I had come to identify myself with them. These perceived problems had become an inseparable part of myself. I saw these issues as being at the core of my being. I allowed all the problems in my life to define me. If you had asked who Richard was at that time, I would have answered that Richard was someone facing these various issues in his life. Yet, that is not who Richard really is. We are not defined by our problems. Our problems are external circumstances that are separate from who we really are. These days, however, my life is completely different. Having erased all problems from my life, I wake up every morning feeling peaceful and calm. That sickening feeling does not hit my gut anymore. To remind myself that something needs to be solved. This way of living can be a reality for you as well. I would like you to commit to this new way of living for the next few weeks and months to come. We have learned that the first step to dissolving a problem is to soften our insistence of it. This means to neither convince nor deny that the problem exists. Going back to the coin analogy, it means dropping the coin and not even picking it up in the first place. What you want to do is to put that coin away and keep it out of sight. Keep it in the drawer. Don't look at it unless it is absolutely necessary. Do not talk about it. Do not face the negative consequences of the problem unless you absolutely need to. For example, do not bring your financial issues to mind until you have to work out how to pay your bills for the month. For the rest of the time, don't even bring it up. The second step to dissolving a problem is to shift into an alternate reality, or I like to call it shift into the desired state, the desired outcome. This alternate reality or desired state is one in which the problem does not exist at all, right? Because in your desired state, in your alternate reality, it's been solved or whatever, it just doesn't exist anymore. Since there is no problem to speak of, then there is no need for solutions as well. Remember, the problems and solutions are two sides of the same coin. Therefore, we want to move into a world that is beyond any solution. We want to move into a realm where problems do not exist in the first place. Here is where it takes some commitment on your part. When you wake up tomorrow morning, lie in bed for as long as possible and see how long it takes for your thoughts about your problems to automatically drift into your consciousness. This gives you a signal as to how closely you identify with your problems and how much you have been worrying about them. If problem-related thoughts arise in your consciousness the moment you wake up, it means you have not softened your insistence, which is step 1, of the problem enough. You are still worried about the problem for a large part of the day and very likely before you sleep. Your aim is to... Now, I just want to give a little context. This is a problem that cannot be practically really solved, because if able to be practically solved, you would have done it, right? Like, for example, I have an issue where, right, say your car needs to be renewed, the registration. Well, you don't have to sit and dissolve a problem for that. You get in your car, you drive to the clerk, and you pay to have your car registration renewed. Easy, right? Like, but if a problem arises where you can't necessarily solve it that easy, say you don't have money to do that. Say, you're in a financial situation where you can't afford to renew your registration, or there is a block and a problem that is not easily solvable. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about issues or things where you get in your car and you go do something and the problem is solved. Talking about things that if you could have solved, you would have. We're talking about the problems that, like, you can't find a way. So anyways, your aim is to prolong the period of time it takes for problem-related thoughts to drift into your consciousness. It may only be a few minutes in the beginning. With consistent practice, this can be lengthened to an hour and gradually a few hours. For example, you can commit to having breakfast without allowing my camera is going dark and then light. Anyways, whatever. You can commit to having breakfast in peace, savoring every delicious bite and every sip of coffee without allowing yourself to be interrupted by these worldly concerns. If you can do so, you would have made incredible progress. You would have done what 90% of the population cannot do, which is to separate themselves from perceived problems in their life. Gradually expand this practice to enjoy your entire morning without having any problem-related thoughts come to mind. If you can be entirely free from the problem-related thoughts before lunch, you would have made amazing progress. You would have spent close to half of your day without placing any focus on either the problem or the solution. The first immediate consequence of this practice is that you feel much better. Without the negative energy sapping thoughts holding you back, you become much more productive at work. Your mood and energy levels improve. The secondary consequence is that you start manifesting a positive outcome for yourself. By softening your insistence of current reality as it is, you allow current reality to dissolve and shift into a desired reality. Therefore, manifestations are happening in the background without your conscious intervention. If you can make it to tea time without any problem-related thoughts, you would have made even greater progress. Of course, if problem-related thoughts arise in your consciousness anytime during the day, gently remind yourself of your intention to be free and let them go. Remind yourself that worrying is futile and that despite all the effort you expend on solving the problem, the solution has yet to appear. So it's like, remind yourself that even though you're like worrying every single day, you still haven't come up with a solution. So it's time to shift. It's time to try something different. Perhaps it is time to try a better way that goes beyond mere solutions. Perhaps it is time to leave it up to, he says, universe. Perhaps it's time to leave it up to God, right? Your spirit, Christ in you. Tell yourself that softening your insistence of the problem is not ignoring or denying the problem. It is, in fact, a very solution-orientated thing to do. By softening your insistence of the problem and absolutely refusing to think any thoughts related to it, you are stopping the endless cycle of negative manifestations that perpetuate the problem. So essentially, he's saying by focusing and worrying on the problem, you're continuing to perpetuate it every single day. You are allowing something more important to be done. He says before that, therefore, you are not doing nothing, right? That's always the worry. Like, if I am not worried about this every single day and putting my attention on this problem, then that means I'm doing nothing about it, which is not true. He's saying you are not doing nothing. You are allowing something more important to be done. This is an essential realization. I think that's worth repeating. So by not worrying and focusing on your problem, that doesn't mean you're not doing anything. You're always doing something, essentially. A different part of you is at work when you're not focusing on the problem. When you're shifting, you're not doing nothing. You are allowing something more important to be done. This is an essential realization. One common objection people have is, I can't just ignore my problems and do nothing about them. They will not just go away if I stop thinking about them. Like, come on, people, let's get with reality. The truth is exactly the opposite. And we have to retrain ourselves to think that. Because the first part of what he said is how we're trained to think. Is how we, right? I can't just ignore my problems and think they're just going to go away. All right. Your problems will go away if you stop thinking about them altogether. Why am I so sure? I can feel people having a conniption to that sentence. Oh my God. Okay. I have both the science and personal experience to back it up. And I am sure you have experienced the truth of these teachings at certain points in your life as well. When you soften the insistence of a problem and drop any references to it in your daily life, whether through speech or by your thoughts, you are not doing nothing. You are stopping yourself from doing the wrong thing, which is to perpetuate the problem as it has always been. Therefore, eliminating all thoughts and mentions of a problem is the best thing you can possibly do in the beginning. You are creating space for change to happen in your life. Most people think they have to be the ones to come up with the solution and make it happen. This misguided view stems from our action-orientated ways of living. For most of the perceived problems in our life, all we need to do is to stop our miscreating. In other words, all that is required of us is that we stop engaging in our negative manifestations. That is all there is. If we stop negatively creating, then God will step in and do the other half. When we are not actively blocking what we desire with these negative manifestations, what we want can finally come into our lives. When I worried about my financial situation in the early days, I was doing a whole lot of negative creation without even realizing it. I thought that I was proactive and solution-orientated when in fact all my negative thoughts from the moment I woke up to the moment I fell asleep at night were creating my situation of financial lack. I just didn't know I had so much creative power in me to create such an undesired reality. The same is true for you as well. There is so much creative power in you right now that you can create whatever reality you wish. The fact that certain issues persist in your life means that something is holding them in place. Someone is continually channeling precious energy towards the situation, which is what keeps the situation as it is. Just as your freezer has to continually supply energy to keep the ice cubes in their solid state, your existing reality perpetuates its current state only through your continued thoughts, words, and deeds. The person who is directing this massive flow of energy is you. Cut off the electricity supply or take the ice cubes out of the freezer and they melt into water in no time. The same goes for the perceived problems in your own life. You need to cut off the energy stream which sustains that current state of affairs. The good news is that the only person who can direct this powerful stream of creative energy is you. There is no one else who can do it for you, for no one else can ever create on your behalf. I'm not too sure about that. Similarly, it is tempting to ascribe your problems to external people and circumstances. Two things happen when you do so. First, you are taking a long roundabout route to solving your problems. Sure, you may be able to physically eliminate all the undesirable conditions contributing to the issue, but how much effort would that take? Would it be possible to control every single condition in your life? This is what many people try to do when they physically solve the problem. They are setting themselves up to do the impossible. There is not enough physical action we can take to change the world. Second, why take this long detour where you can go when you can go right to the root of the issue? A faster way will be to simply stop directing any creative energy to the situation. Stop supplying the energy and your current situation dissolves right before your eyes. It is as simple as that, but most people do not do it because they do not realize the inherent creative power within themselves. It takes an incredible amount of mental energy to perpetuate any situation in our lives. This is particularly true for undesired and problematic situations, since we both have to unconsciously prop up the situation and consciously fight against it at the same time. This constant 95% battle that goes on inside most people is what wears them out both mentally and physically. It is little wonder that problems sap our energy and leave us drained at the end of each day. When you finally free yourself from worrying and feeling fearful about the problem, you can free up a significant portion of your creative energies, which can then be put to better use. You'll be surprised at how much energy and bounce you have when you drop the perceived problems from your life and free yourself from the need of obsessing over them. Start today. See how long you can last without worrying about the problem or bringing it up in your own mind. Each time problem-related thoughts come to mind, gently acknowledge and let them go. This means not engaging in them and following the train of thoughts to their usual conclusion. Feed absolutely no energy into them. Know that you are not doing nothing with this practice. Instead, you are stopping negative creation right in its tracks and therefore creating a new reality for yourself. If you keep at this for the next few days or so, your physical reality will begin to shift right under your nose. What you previously thought to be set in stone becomes as malleable, as soft as a piece of plasticine to be molded into any shape you desire.